name is Melinda and I'm here today with another book tag. It's Tuesday, so it's Book Tag Tuesday. Today's book tag is the Kitchen Garden book tag. This tag was created pretty recently by Rhone, and I saw it on Katie's Shelf Life. Both of these are new to me, booktuber, so that was pretty exciting. There are 7 prompts and then I will tag some people. So this is, I think the idea behind this book tag was to get you in the mood for spring, which I'm all for because the weather in my part of the world, at least so far, has not been doing that. But yeah, hopefully this weekend will be nicer. We'll see. So the first prompt is Rosemary, a book that stands the test of time. And I chose And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. So obviously a classic. You knew I had to choose an Agatha Christie book. But I chose this one specifically because there are so many retellings of it. It's almost its own genre, to tell you the truth. The way it is so clever, and it's almost its own genre. There's no other book like it unless it is actually a retelling of this book. Yes, there were some of its time elements to it that we talk about a lot with Christie. This is not the original title of this book. This is the third title of this book. It is the non-offensive title of this book. But the actual story and what happens in here and what she does with this book is unlike anything else. And it's something that I keep seeing being retold and retold and being almost, you know, it's very much like And Then There Were None. It's another And Then There Were None mystery. It's when someone says And Then There Were None, they mean something very specific. And for something like that to happen, I think that really stands the test of time. The next one is, let me drop my book down here. The next one is Mint, a book that offers a fresh perspective. So I struggled a little bit with this one, and I started going through on Goodreads books that I've read and rated highly for years. And one jumped out at me, and it's one that I read several years ago. I might actually have it on that other bookshelf, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. We'll just stick a picture of it when the time comes. And that's a book called The Unlikely Disciple, A Sinner's Semester at America's Holiest University by Kevin Roose. So, if you have read the book, The Year of Living Biblically by A.J. Jacobs, where he tries to follow all the rules of the Bible for a year. In there, he has to have a slave because that's in the Bible. So he gets like what is now a slave, an intern, an unpaid intern. And this intern goes with him and does some of the things that he does. And that intern was Kevin Roose. And through that experience, Kevin Roose, who was at school at Brown University at the time, decided he wanted to do a cultural exchange. So instead of going to like Portugal or South Korea, he decided to go. So Brown University, if you're not aware, is a very liberal university in New England. It's in Rhode Island. But he decided to go do a cultural exchange to Liberty University, which is in Lynchburg, Virginia. It's a huge university. It's very conservative. It's very evangelical Christian. It is as opposite to Brown University as you can imagine. Everyone thought he was crazy, but he decided to do it. So he goes there. You know, and he's got some preconceptions about the people there. I should probably insert myself a little bit here saying I went to school in Virginia. I went to William and Mary, which is a public university, and it's not evangelical or anything like that, but there is a large contingent of students who identify as evangelical, and they have, you know, they live the evangelical life. And that was really the first time, even though I have family members who sort of fall into that, but it's really the first time that I had seen that firsthand. I'm mainline Protestant. I am progressive mainline Protestant, so this was very different for me. Kevin Roose was actually Quaker, so that's even more opposite. But he went, and I think he went in with such an open mind. I don't know if I would have had that open mind in his position, because these were people who chose to live their life in a way and believed in a faith that was sort of kind of in the same under the same umbrella as his, but was so different. And this was before really the evangelicals they were starting to become the political juggernaut that they are now. This was before that. And just, you know, he found a lot of compassion for them and empathy. And there were things that he did not agree with and he thought were wrong. And he would come out and say, he thinks this is wrong. He thinks they are wrong in this. He does not agree with this. But he also had a lot more compassion. And he really did go into it very honestly, trying to really do everything and experience it. the way you should experience something like that. And I think he came out of it understanding it probably didn't change his faith that much. He did not become an evangelical afterwards, but it gave him an insight, which has really helped him, I think, in the world. He is currently a working journalist. He's done other books. I think he works a lot in kind of like financial journalism now, but that's a little bit on the political side, and having this insight really helps him. And I can't think of any other book that kind of looks at a subculture in the United States like that one does. And that's The Unlikely Disciple by Kevin Roose. The next one, Basil, which is one of my favorites. A book set in the Mediterranean, or written by an author from a Mediterranean country. So the author of the book I'm going to talk about is not from a Mediterranean country. She is from Texas. But this is From Scratch by Tembi Locke. So this is a memoir. Tembi Locke is an actress. She is the sister of Agatha Locke, who's a well-known writer and now screenwriter. This has recently been, I don't want to say it's been made into a TV show because it's fictionalized. There are a lot of changes, but it's still the basic story. But Tembi Locke, as a younger woman, met and fell in love with a man from either Sicily or Sardinia. I don't have a copy of the book. I had checked the book out. So anyway, they had this very deep love, but he ended up dying of cancer. This is not a spoiler. This happens. I mean, you know, almost from when the book starts, so this is what happened. And after his death, she of course is struggling, and she ends up going back to her husband's hometown and really connecting with his family, to get to know them, because she didn't know them very well when they were married. There were some prejudice issues. There was just geographic issues. There were linguistic issues. So she didn't really know them. So she got to know them after his death. And of course, her husband was a chef, so food was very important. And then he came from a good Italian family where food is very important. So food is a really big part of this book. As I said, I checked my copy out of the library, and I can't remember if I had the ebook or audiobook, but whatever it was, I had to go online somewhere, find the recipes. I don't know how many of them I will make. I haven't made any yet, but I do want to make the sauce that's in there. But she really just brings that hometown to life. And I will tell you, as they say on Book Riot, this is like a 5-alarm snot bomb. You will cry. It is a very sad story, but it's beautifully written and a very honest story. So that was Basil, and that was From Scratch by Tembi Locke. Our next one is Lavender, a book like a warm, calming hug. So I was gonna take like the really easy route on this one and do like The House on the Cerulean Sea, but then I thought, no, I'm going to challenge myself. So I came up with Tiny Beautiful Things, Advice on Love and Life from Dear Sugar by Cheryl Strayed. Probably know about this book. Cheryl Strayed, who wrote the Hot Mess Express book, Wild. She also was an advice columnist on the online magazine The Rumpus, known as Dear Sugar. And these are just a collection of her columns. They're very honest. They're very relatable. This book just fills my heart. I have the book here. I would actually recommend this on audio. She reads it herself. It's amazing. Also, this has been turned into a show on Hulu, which has just started, I think, earlier this month. I haven't had a chance to watch it because from the ads, I can tell it's not something I want to watch with my kids around. I haven't found a time without my kids around to watch it. So it's the only reason why I haven't, but it stars Kathryn Hahn. And again, like From Scratch, it's not a direct adaptation of the book. It's like they made a new story using the book. There's a stage play of this, which I have seen, and I saw it in Portland. The stage production was written, and the original production starred Nia Vardalos of My Big Fat Greek Wedding fame. But it's beautiful. It's a beautifully done show. If you ever get a chance to see that, I recommend that as well. But this is like a nice warm hug. You just want Sugar there to be the shoulder to cry on and to give you all the advice you need in life. Okay, next one. Got a little pile of books growing down here. Next one is Thyme, an underrated book. This was the easiest book for me to choose because I read this book 2 months ago and it became my all-time favorite book ever. And that is Mink River by Brian Doyle. This is an Oregon book. It's a book that I think every Oregonian should read. It is set on the Oregon coast, on an unnamed town on the Oregon coast, or I shouldn't say unnamed town. It is named. It's called Mink River, but it doesn't exist. It's a fictional town on the Oregon coast, but it could be any town on the Oregon coast. And it's just about the people who live there and some of the creatures, like there is a talking crow in it. It's so beautiful, so lyrical. This book just took my breath away, and the Oregon coast is one of my favorite places on the planet. But so for me, obviously it holds a special place, but the language is just gorgeous in this. It's unlike anything else that I've read from another author. There is a follow-up book to this, which is in my TBR basket, or will be, called The Plover, which I hope to read soon. But this is it is my all-time favorite book, and it's a book that's very underrated. It should be better known than it is, and that is Mink River by Brian Doyle. Okay, we're getting there. This is one we lucked out. I actually have the book because I haven't taken it to Goodwill yet. But that is Cilantro, an either love it or hate it book. If you watch my channel, you know on which end of the scale I fall with this book. I know so many people who loved this book. People whose opinions usually match mine pretty well and whose opinions I trust loved this book. I hated this book. I mean, I think my actual review was this was not a book that worked for me, and I'm not saying that I'm not going to go out and say it's a bad book and people are wrong for liking it, because no book is for every reader. This book was just really not, I'm not the reader for this book. I know that people enjoy it. I would say don't ask me whether or not you should read it, because my views on it are very strong, but they are my views. But this one did not work for me. So this is my love it or hate it book, and I fall in the latter category. And finally, we have one more, and that's a Bergamot. And this is Started Bitter, Ended Sweet, a book you were unsure of but ended up liking. This was another hard one for me. So I went to my bookshelf and I just kind of looked through everything, and then this book jumped out for me. And this was one of my favorite books. Not my favorite book, because that's Mink River, but one of my favorite books. And it is Destiny of the Republic, A Tale of Madness, Medicine, and the Murder of a President by Candice Millard. So this is about the assassination attempt which led to the death, although he did not die from the assassination. He died from bad medicine, of President James Garfield, who many historians believe could have been our best president had he lived. He was really only active as president for a few months before he was shot. I knew basically, like, I was obviously interested in the subject when I picked this up, but I started reading it, and she's talking about, like, Alexander Graham Bell, and I'm like, what is this? What is going on here? And talking about, like, the World's Fair, and I'm so confused as to why she's talking about these things. I'm like, I just really don't know. But I pressed on. It all comes together. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. It's a great book. If you are not a nonfiction or not a history reader, you would still like this book. It is very readable. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Erik Larson in her writing, in that she really appeals to people who aren't history readers, who are more fiction readers but want to read nonfiction that's history. That's her style's a little bit different, but I think that she's definitely akin to that. Not a spoiler, because it's history and we all know that when James Garfield dies, I sobbed. I was like, I knew it was going to happen. I knew how it was going to happen. I didn't think, I will give you warning, gross stuff. There is gross body stuff in this book. So if you aren't good with that, don't read this book. But other than that, I knew it was going to happen, and I just sobbed. I sobbed. It was so beautifully written. I even tweeted back when I was still on Twitter, before it was taken over by the madman, that book, how much that meant to me, just reading that passage. And the author tweeted me back. It was so great. So those were our prompts. 7 prompts, 7 herbs to get you in the mood for reading for spring. And I would like to tag some people. Usually when I do book tags, like, everybody's already done it, but I've barely seen anybody do this tag yet. So I'm going to tag some accounts that I know like to do tags and have a pretty big reach, because I think this is a great tag that more people should be doing, especially right now. So I've got 5 booktubers I'm going to tag. First, I'm going to tag Sandy at Ms. Reads a Lot, and then Kim at Middle of the Book March, Jennifer at Jennifer Loves Books, Caitlin at Bandy's Books, and Hannah at Savage Reads. And of course, I will put all this information, all of their channels, and and Chiron's channel, and Katie's Shelf Life, and the prompts, and everything you need to know, and the books that I put on there. I will put those in the description box below. So thank you for joining me for this Tag Tuesday. I don't have a tag plan for next Tuesday. We'll see if someone tags me this week and I'll decide what I do next week. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a little thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and just to hear me ramble on about everything else. And I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much.